What up, squad? I figured we step away from Pop the Balloon for just a little bit. I want y'all to check out something. Let me know what you think in the comments. Let's go.
Isn't that correct?
No, that's not correct.
So you were not held.
That's what y'all agreed on. No,
It wasn't an agreement.
that's what y'all agreed on. Can I ask a quick question?
On the motion to revoke community supervision, which was filed, let me see, December 15th of 2022. As you said, we
All right. So I'm going to just go ahead and start dissecting this quick. As you can see, it's another hyena situation. These hyena baby mamas, okay? Baby mama culture is out of control. It's just out of control at this point. And as you can already see, what type of time this woman is on, she drinking a bottle of water. You know what I'm saying? Um, she all aggressive, like she with the business already. Women think because they are the ones that birth the child, they have more rights. It don't work like that, but sometimes it does. The court system does not. A lot of the court systems don't father favors at all, but that's another topic for another time. We're gonna talk about this one specifically. um she already coming in just like, I do what I want. Let's see how she react later. This is my raw reaction, so y'all gonna get it. I just seen a clip of it and I was like, no, I gotta react to this. Let's go.
had some changes today with Miss Nance replacing Miss Carter as Mr. Thomas's attorney. At this point, we do have an agreement to go ahead and continue Mr. Thomas's community supervision period. But what we disagree on is what the payments on the judgments should be. So we do both agree that he owes, I'm so sorry, let me pull this up, that as of December 31st, he owes $20,677.87 in child support arrears.
Look, this man want to see his child and she over there worried about child support. The girl.
And then $7,077.76 in medical support arrears, again, as of December 31st. But what Ms. Hancock is wanting is $300 payments on the arrears, and Mr. Thomas would like to keep the payments at $155 a month. There's no dispute on the medical arrears payments, so we both agree to keep that at $75 a month as it is now. The other disagreement that we have is over non-disclosure. Ms. Hancock has previously been ordered to not that she does not have to disclose her contact information to Mr. Thomas. Mr. Thomas is requesting that she now be ordered to disclose her address only. And then we're also in disagreement as to the transfer of the case. The other party has filed a transfer to Fort Bend. Ms. Hancock is asserting that she actually does not live in Fort Bend. She lives in Houston. So there's a disagreement on that as well at this point.
What,
Did you see the daddy face? What?
which motion would you all like to do first? The transfer or the?
I think I would prefer to just do the motion to revoke first and then address the transfer after that, if that's okay with everybody.
Okay, go ahead, Ms. Campos.
I will call Ms. Hancock as my first witness. And how old is Layla?
She's 12.
And are you requesting that the current, did you hear what the agreements I read on the record were?
Yes, ma'am.
And does that accurately reflect what you're agreeing to?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So as far as your request that the payments on the child support arrears be set to $300, why are you requesting that the payments be at that amount?
She's 12 years old. He's behind on payments. I do 100% of everything. Like, it's for his child.
Look how the dad looking.
I don't spend it on nothing else. I mean, if he want to support her, let's support her. Like, I don't get 155. Come on, she's 12 years old. She's
So
in all activities. She's in cheer. She's in dance. I support that alone. Like, I don't get any support from him from none of that. So I'm trying to make her successful.
That's not really support. That's extracurricular activities. You can use that to help, get her into other things. I get it, but that's something you decided that you wanted her to join. So I mean, did y'all ever have a conversation on agreement about the things that she's participating in? Does he get to go to those events? Let's go.
Little lady into a woman, and I mean, if he want to help, that's how he can help. If that's his concern, his daughter.
So $155 is not enough for your daughter's needs at this point on
No
the
man,
arrears. Okay.
no man, no
So
man.
you said she's in some.
Everything has went up.
Okay. And you said that she's in
Mhm.
extracurriculars that cost funds.
Yes, ma'am.
What all extracurriculars is she in?
And she's in competition cheer. Um, she's in band. She's in karate. Um, she's in a lot of stuff.
Okay. And about how
Through
much
the
do those?
school, through
We need the list. Not a lot of stuff just ain't gonna cut it. You need a list of things that she's actually doing in the curricular activities and the time frame. If she doing band and cheer, now correct me if I'm wrong, she has to be doing band in school, which should not cost, in my opinion, but I don't know school. And two, if it's not in school and it's something that you paid for extra, cheer band, are you on the sidelines playing the instrument, or are you cheering? How can she do both? She do a lot of stuff, but let's minimize the activities, ma'am. Like, girl, what? Like, all of that? I highly doubt that it's at the same time, is all I'm saying. Ain't no way somebody gonna be doing band and cheerleading, specifically because a lot of those games are kind of aligned. So let's go.
About how much do those cost?
the the competition cheer monthly was like 150, and then you have to pay for like the outfits and
Was like 150. So was is a past tense thing. So it looked like it sounded like she talking about some back pay action. Cause was is a past tense word.
stuff like that. So I paid almost 250 a month just for her by herself, and then I have to drive to the competitions, and I have a lot of stuff I have to do. All that costs money.
I understand. Is there anything else you'd like to tell Judge about that part of the hearing?
I mean, just everything has went up. She eats. She needs the support.
So even right here, she gave her an example of asking her how much everything costs, and the only thing she brought up was cheer and how much those particular things cost. When you're in a hearing, you are supposed to state your case so the judge can just make a proper decision. You can't go in there and talk. And I don't know why the attorney didn't teach her this or let her know this. I'm not an attorney, so what the fuck do I know? But it's better for you to have a conversation and be like, look, this is a list of things that she does. This is how much everything is cost. You just swinging it and winging it. If you really about that business, you need your paperwork right in front of you. Like, look, she do this on this day. It costs this and that much. This da da da. Now it was like $150. It may be 230. Like you can't. Here's a list of the things that I have because this is really important to me. I feel like he needs to pay for it. Where's the list for the band? How much was the instrument? Did you pay for the instrument? Did you have to rent the instrument? Like, come on, lady. I was in band too. Hey, I was in band. Me and my husband was in the same band class. Okay, I played the saxophone and the flute, and he was a brass player, and he played drums. But whatever. I let him tell y'all what he was in band. It's not my place to say. But anywho, even with that, band was free in school, and anything that you did not have enough money for, either your parents bought your own instrument for you or you use the one at school, you sign a waiver to make sure you take care of it. So like I said, it already sounds funny to me anyway. Just, you want more money and child support, that's fine. But I think women, they spend too much time focused on what a man can do financially for the child instead of mentally. How much time does he spend with that child? Obviously not enough if he taking her to court for some contempt action. But what do I know?
I mean, if you feel like $150 is enough for a growing a girl, I mean, that's kind of crazy to me. I mean, I don't bother him. I don't ask him for outside money. When I do request it, he doesn't give it to us anyway. So it's like, if that's the only way I can get it, that's how I'm gonna request.
Y'all keep looking how the baby that look at his face. He's like, what? Girl, you know what? I don't know if this is true or not. I don't. But the look on his face is like, why you in here lying? Women will come in court and lie their ass off, honey, and won't blink, baby. And the baby daddies and the ex-husbands be like, wait a minute. What? Huh? What? But whatever.
It. And if he's so concerned about the care of his child, then I don't see the problem.
Okay. And moving on to the issue of non-disclosure, why are you requesting that your address be held confidential from Mr. Thomas?
Cause he's a stalker. He's been harassing me. He's stayed threatening me.
Girl, look
He's
at him. He laughing. Look at him laughing. You know what? I don't have time to play with you, Mr. Thomas. Look at him just he is cracking up like, girl, what? Ooh, it's the Bob.
a lot. That's why I really moved down the street, but I moved from there. I have emails. I have text messages.
Objection, Your Honor.
He said
Hearsay.
he has pictures. He said he has everything. I have it right here. That's why I said if
Well,
this
one second.
reschedule
Ms.
this
Hancock.
day, I'll bring it.
Miss Hancock, you need whenever you hear one of the lawyers announce that they've made an objection, you need to hold your comment. Miss Nance, what is the objection?
Objection to documents not in evidence, and it's hearsay.
Oh,
Okay, objection is sustained.
see, ladies, you hyenas, y'all gotta learn. When you go in court, you can't go in court saying anything. That's why old girl, my day ones know who I'm talking about, lost her case. When you try to say this stuff about people, you're gonna have to have the evidence, and the evidence has to be current, and it has to really solidify what you're talking about. You can't just walk in court and just say stuff. That don't work. People don't care about your emotions. People don't care about your feelings. They care about the facts. Okay. Facts. That's it. That's it. Don't nobody care about nothing else. Now, it might be a little different if you're in front of a jury. You can maybe pull the heartstrings a little bit with a little tear or two. But even then, when the court speaks to the jury, the court gives specific instructions that they have to go by the facts, regardless if they like it or not. They have to go by the facts. Now we can't control people's minds and what they say, but that's a different story. Anyway, you can't just go over here and say he's stalking me. He doing all this stuff. I got text messages. I got this. I didn't talk to the FBI's, and you can't be doing all of that without proof. It's laughable. Stop it.
Um, so Miss Hancock, um, if you're going to testify about documents that haven't been introduced as part of the record, you can't testify about them since it's not part of the evidence yet. And if you're going to testify about what others have told you, you can't testify and provide that kind of testimony.
No, you can't. You have to have the witness present for them to state it, and then they have to have their proof. You can't just say stuff. Period.
You can testify what Mr. Thomas had told you, so that's admissible. But anything that someone else would have.
No. This is this is between me and Mr. Thomas. This is not anybody else.
Okay, and I
You
think part
still
of the
need
issue
There's
evidence.
is
nothing no one told me.
Ms.
You
Hancock,
still
I
need
think part of the
evidence.
issue is that your device delays and it keeps chopping up. So it could be that both Ms. Nance and I misheard your statement. Okay. So if you could please only testify as to what Mr.
Yeah, because I thought my laptop was tripping for a second.
Thomas has told you.
You're requesting that your address be held confidential. Why is that?
Because we have a meetup location that we agreed to. I have other children, and I'm in another family, and I just with it's tension, not tension like that, but I just he has his point or he says his stuff, and It's kind of bringing havoc to my home. We did agree on a meetup location, and that's just where I wanted to stay at. I mean, if he knows everything else about his child, why? What is the?
So, Ms. Hancock, you testified that he has engaged in some stalking against you. Can you go into that just a little
Look at
bit?
the dad.
Yes,
Look at the dad face. Fellas, let me know in the comments what that look mean. Put it in, I need to see it. Put it in the comments. What does this look right here mean to y'all? Let's go.
ma'am. Uh he follows me around my neighborhood. I have this on camera.
Not him
At
laughing.
one point, he was sending people to my door, and
Miss
they was
Nance,
banging on my
Miss
windows.
Miss Nance, if you could just hold your comment. Excuse me, Miss Hancock. Miss Nance, I'm going to admonish your client with regards to his reactions. Um, I've noticed that during the testimony of Miss Hancock, he is.
You can't do that. I can't, you can't go in a courtroom and I don't care if they say your feet stink. You got to keep a straight face. You can't be like, oh, come on. And oh, man, what? You just, it don't matter. I know it's a laughable thing. I know it's a situation like that, but the judge ain't gonna want to see that either. You got to keep a straight face, even when she say the most horrendous and unspeakable things. Um, y'all watch out for that, fellas. Don't fall for the okey doke. Don't let these women get to you with their lies. Just let them lie. If she don't have no evidence of it, it don't even matter.
It's just laughing and just doesn't seem to be taking this seriously. So, Mr. Thomas, no, you may not speak right now. You need to be respectful of this process. And Ms. Hancock deserves the respect from everyone for us to be able to hear her without your nonverbal um, reactions. Okay, so please,
Yes, ma'am.
if you need to have a recess with your attorney to talk about that, you may certainly request it. But I've given you, I think, enough leeway, and I don't want to see that anymore. Okay.
Yes,
Yes,
Judge.
ma'am.
He'll behave from here on out.
Don't piss off the judge.
Thank you, ma'am. All right, Ms. Hancock, you may proceed.
Um, so yeah, I've tried to file
Look at her demeanor. She look like she cooking now. Oh, we about to cook.
a restraining order against him. Around that time, it was COVID. They wanted me to put all my videos on a USB chart thing. He texts bullying and threatening. It's not just oh I'm gonna kill you. He's I'm taking you to court. You
Objection,
doing
Your
this?
Honor. Narrative.
Wait a minute. How the hell is bullying is I'm taking you to court? That take it y'all listening to these words that these hyenas be throwing and they always like to claim abuse. When a hyena is mad and she's salty about you trying to do what you can for your child and she uses your child as a pawn, you're going to become an abuser. Even a lot of times a sexual predator. You're going to be essaying people. You're gonna be all types of things that you did not know you was when these hyenas get upset. It's so weird the lengths of craziness that some of these women go to in order to separate the child from the father and then blame the father for not being around because they just need a payout. It's ridiculous. And it's like, was he all this when you was throwing it back and doing them back shots? I don't think so.
And again, refers to documents that aren't in evidence.
Sustained. So, Ms. Hancock, when you are asked a question, it would be helpful for you just to answer the question, and then
You got to answer the question with evidence. Here's the documentation. Here's the USB. If they asked you and requested you to give this information, clearly you couldn't provide it. Let's really talk about it. Taking a USB port, taking a USB thing. I think I got one of those here somewhere, but I ain't about to be looking for it. It's not that deep. But when you got a USB file or whatever the hell you want to call it, it take 5 minutes to upload something. And they have options in the court where you can just hit from your phone and directly tap it in to upload the images or anything you need. You have to have proof of this stalking. You have to have proof of the harassment. You have to have proof of the abuse. If you don't have that proof, you don't have nothing. I don't, it is what it is. Get it together.
There may be some
Yes, ma'am.
follow-up questions by Ms. Campos. Okay, instead of just going on to the next.
Okay.
All right. All right, Ms. Campos.
And even with the attorney, I'm confused on why she didn't talk to her client and let her client know. You know, usually when you speak to your attorney, y'all have a little powwow about what you gonna converse about, right? So I'm not understanding why she didn't let this woman know. Look, you could bring this up, you could bring that up. If you don't have any paperwork that you can send to me currently, so I can upload it in the file to where the court can receive it, we can't talk about it. So if you don't have the proof, you need to let it loose. If you don't have that information at hand, we're not going to talk about it. I'm so confused on why they. She might have had the conversation. I don't know. I wasn't there, but that conversation sounded like it needed to be had.
Yes.
Miss Hancock, you testified to him stalking. You said that you saw him on a video stalking you. Is that correct?
I have him on video. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And you said that he's also sent you some threatening and harassing texts. Is that correct?
Yes.
Can you go into the kind of harassment that you've received via text from Mr. Thomas?
It,
See, this is why I'm not a lawyer or an attorney, whatever you want to call it, because and I don't understand it. If you are an attorney and you're an attorney in civil court, maybe somebody can ask the lead attorney. But what shouldn't she be able to say objection, because she's asking Miss Hancock all of these questions, but still no evidence was submitted? I thought she was going to ask the question and say, okay, now showing the court exhibit blah 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 blah. I don't know.
it'll be like, everything like
Get the lie straight. Get the lie straight.
say if he missed his day, I'd be like, oh, okay, just recently, was it Christmas or Thanksgiving? He had her. So he texted and he was like, how are we gonna do the holidays? And I was like, well, I wasn't being rude. I was just like, per the order, that's why we have the order in place, because we can't come to agreements. And he cursed when he talked, when he texts. So he's just real threatening, and it's all the time. It's like,
you didn't answer the question. None of that, like, that didn't even make sense. What? Girl, what? It was like Christmas. I asked him, he asked me that. Now, and this is why y'all definitely need a court order. He simply asked you a question like, I have my daughter, we having a good time. He probably asked, can I keep her a little longer? Per court order, that's not what we doing. Now, if you were in a decent co-parenting relationship and you actually cared about your daughter enjoying herself or having fun with her father, he should be able to ask you those type of questions, and you guys supposed to be able to come together about something. You talking about per court order, I guess, but you risk, like, if there's an event or a situation that you want to be a part of, you're not going to be able to be a part of it if he be petty and say per court order. Like, and then she's like, oh, he just be cussing and sending all threatening text messages. She not detailed about anything specifically that he said, but he did all this horrendous stuff, and you can't pinpoint or name one specifically at all.
it's always like he'll text early in the morning or late at night, or it's just
You're all
always
over the
something.
place.
He, oh, my lawyer this, I'm a subpoena you. He's just always threatening me, and I'm like,
Subpoenaing you and telling you that he's gonna have to go to court behind something because you're not doing your part or you're not being cooperative is not a threat. That's really stupid to say. Look at the judge face.
take care of your child. Like, what are you threatening me like this for? This supposed to be for Layla, but it's just always complex. And I'm here with my other children. I have my own social life, and I just don't feel that him trying to come in and out just because he's saying that he's looking out for Lay is a reason to have my address where he gets his visits. It's not like I'm keeping him.
Not I have my own social life. Let me play that back with her selfish ass. They love to throw that social life shit, huh? That's all that's important to them.
This supposed to be for Layla, but it's just always complex. And I'm here with my other children. I have my own social life, and I just don't feel that, him trying to come in and out just because he's saying that he's looking out for Lay is a reason to have my address where he gets his visits. It's not like I'm keeping him from her. So him wanting my address is another one of his stalking moves that he's continuing.
Ms. Hancock, let me just ask for a little bit of clarification. So has he ever, I know that you've said that he's made some threats against you. Has he ever made some threats against your physical welfare? Like any threats of bodily harm or anything?
No, just being hostile and threatening to put.
That's not a threat. She just specifically said, has he tried to threaten your person? Has he threatened to put his hands on you or anything else? But you want to feel like because he wants to go to court because he don't feel like you're being cooperative is a threat. That's a problem. And these are these high conflict parents.
Put me in jail and take Layla away from me and stuff like that.
That's not a threat.
I mean, it was an abusive relationship from the beginning, but I mean, since then
it was an abusive relationship from the beginning. He's such an abuser that he won't text you about how he gonna abuse you, girl. If you don't stop,
keeps coming with that bully tactic, and I tell him, I said, you can't talk to me like that. You can't, you can't try to.
You hear that, ego? You can't talk to me like that.
And when you say abusive relationship, what do you mean by that?
When we was together, abusive, like hitting on me, beating me, putting me and my child outside of the house in the cold. That's how I moved back. And it's just so happy he just never went to jail for it. But he's an animal.
It just so happened he never went to jail for it. But he's an animal. Oh God.
I'm telling you.
Okay, so while y'all were together, when were y'all together?
Years ago.
Okay, so
we had Layla. I had Layla in 2020. I had Layla in 2012. We weren't together long. We was together like on and off because I would leave. And when I came back, I found out I was pregnant. I tried to share that with him. He was abusive then. So I just finally, he had put us out. So I just got on the Greyhound and left.
Okay.
And I came and got my stuff later.
So back in around 2012, he had put his hands on you during your relationship. Is that correct?
Oh yeah, all the time. Mm-hmm.
Since then, have there been any instances of family violence by Mr. Thomas?
I don't communicate with him. And he hasn't been communicating with me until he known, which I told him that I moved to Houston. And so now he's so involved now. And I don't mind. He can see a child. I just don't want nothing to do with him because like I say, we can't never talk. We argue, we argue through the text, we argue on the phone. I keep telling him like, I don't want.
I can tell by how amped up you are.
To do this, let's just, if you want to email me instead of directly texting me, I would appreciate that. I'm just trying to keep it down. And it's like, it's not going anywhere. We can't come to an agreement. And then it always fall back on me because he'll run and get a lawyer. Well, if you was helping me, I'll get a lawyer too. But if you don't want to help me, then just leave me alone, I don't have money to do all this. This is beyond me.
Ms. Hancock, so I'm going to ask about the stalking now. How many instances of stalking have occurred by Mr. Thomas to you?
Since I've been in Houston, this is going on 3 years. About 3 times.
Okay, and how do you know that?
Three years, and he stalked you 3 times in the period of 3 years. Nice. Okay.
That he was stalking you.
His car, his truck following me. One day when I was coming home from taking him to school, he was parked by the mailboxes The mailboxes are not in front of our house. They're like on the side street, but like my house is like three houses down from the side street. And I'm coming down the park and he try to pull up behind me. So I back up because I see his truck. I know his truck and I pull off through the park, through the subdivision, and he follows for a little bit, but then he turned around. And I have that on camera.
Okay. And when did that instance occur?
That's about a year and a half ago or so.
Okay. When was the last instance of stalking?
Him telling me that he got pictures of me moving and he's gonna report it and he see everything I do.
He told that to you via text message?
Yes.
Okay. And when did that happen?
I'm about a year and a half ago. I've been here almost 2 years.
So everything happened in a period of a 3-year time span, and then the stalking that you're alleging has been over a year. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. I'll pass the witness, Judge.
Ms. Nance?
Yes. Ms. Hancock, you stated on direct that Mr. Thomas is allowed all of his visitation. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, but you were held in contempt by this court for not allowing Mr. Thomas to have his possession and access back in April of 2022. Isn't that correct?
No, that's not correct.
So you were not held.
That's what y'all agreed on. No.
It wasn't an agreement.
That's what y'all agreed on.
Wait, not that's what y'all agreed on. Y'all women kill me. That's what y'all agree on. She was like, nope, I ain't signed up for that. Girl, what?
Ms. Hancock, you need to allow the attorney to finish her question. Don't argue with her. You just need to answer the question and give her that respect. So when she asks you the question, just ask the question.
Can I ask a quick question? I didn't sign that order.
No, Ms. Hancock, you cannot. Right now, you are the witness.
Okay.
And you're going to ask questions. Ms. Nance.
Thank you, Judge. Whether you signed the order or not, this court held you in contempt for denying Mr. Thomas his possession and access. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And Mr. Thomas took pictures of you moving because you refused to provide him with your current address. Is that correct?
I guess. I mean, do he stay next door to me? I mean, how is he getting pictures of what I'm doing every day?
Okay, so now the context changes a little bit. You talking about stalking the whole time. He getting photos for proof of evidence that you're moving and doing things and not allowing him to see his child, so he feel like he'll never see his child again because you're moving. So he gives you a 1-up by sending you a text message like, I'm going to take you to court, but you consider that as threatening. All right.
And the order that you and Mr. Thomas both signed back in 2013 that set out the possession and access schedule that Mr. Thomas was supposed to have, it states that pickup and drop off is supposed to happen at your residence. Is that correct?
It was never clear to me.
Okay, well, that's what the order states, Ms. Hancock. Have you filed a motion to modify that order?
No, ma'am.
Okay, and at the time that order was entered, did you allege any sort of family violence that would prevent Mr. Thomas from exercising his visitation?
You didn't let me speak.
I wasn't Mr. Thomas's attorney in 2013.
I can never say anything.
I'm asking about the order that was signed in 2013, Ms. Hancock.
2013.
That was when you and Mr. Thomas signed an agreed order.
The standard child support, yeah, and they told us.
Did you and Mr. Thomas both sign that order in 2013?
The standard child support order, it said that if we agree, then yes.
Okay, so that order includes
it
language.
Was standard. It wasn't an order that.
Standard or not, it includes language that describes where pickup and drop off is supposed to take place. And that order states quite clearly that it is your residence, correct?
Ah, dang.
I'm not sure.
Girl,
At
I
this
don't
time,
recall.
Your Honor, I would ask that the court take judicial notice of the order that was signed by this court on, I believe, October 1st of 2013.
Okay. I do take judicial notice of the order
And she had to sip some water on
establishing
that. Look, she done chugged that water down. That attorney got her stressed out.
the dispute affecting the parent-child relationship. It was heard on September 26th of 2013. And under the general terms and conditions, the exchange of the child would be at the residence of Ms. Hancock.
Thank you, Judge. In addition to that order that you and Mr. Thomas signed in 2013, and the order of contempt that was signed in 2022, you stated that you have not filed any sort of motion to modify the orders of the court. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
And how many times exactly have you moved since that order was signed in 2013?
2013, I moved to Houston once.
And since you've been in Houston, you've moved again, haven't you?
Yes.
Okay, so again, how many times have you moved since that order was signed in
Twice.
2013? Okay, and you have not provided Mr. Thomas with your updated address for any of those moves?
We had an agreement.
Okay. Have you had that agreement written down or signed for the court?
Yes, in text. I haven't written anything down and signed anything.
Okay, and in spite of the fact that it's
We've
your
been
testimony.
talking via text.
Okay, so it's your testimony that you and Mr. Thomas agreed to meet at this other location, but in spite of that, you were held in contempt for not bringing your daughter to that location for pickup and drop off. Isn't that correct?
No, that's not correct. I wasn't held in contempt y'all held me in contempt for the order from 2013, like before he went to jail. Not anything in Houston. We
And
went back to court in what, 20?
That's still the only order that's in place, Ms. Hancock. You have not modified that order. That is the only order that this court has of record describing paternity, describing possession and access.
Okay, but you're trying to bring up some possession and access that we've talked about. Now, recently, no, I have not been, I've been in compliance with this location we agreed to. That's what I'm saying. You're trying to say that I'm
OMG. Miss Campos, you need to take a break and counsel your client and let her know if you didn't modify a court order, it don't matter what y'all said through text message. Now, you could have her upload it as an agreement on a text message. You could potentially use that. I'm not a lawyer. I'm just saying. You could do that. Girl, she about to crash out.
Objection, Your Honor, non-responsive.
And that's not what's going on.
Okay. Ms. Hancock, I understand that you're not an attorney, but there is only one visitation order in effect at this moment, okay? And that visitation order is the one that was signed by the court in 2013. And those terms and conditions and the place where the child is to be exchanged, that hasn't been modified. And I think that is the point that Ms. Nance has been attempting to make. So I acknowledge that is the current order. So if we could move on to another issue.
Yes, Judge. Is it also your testimony that Mr. Thomas has not provided anything else outside of the current child support order for your daughter? He has not purchased any clothes or shoes or any other items for her?
No.
And that's why you're requesting additional funds?
Yes.
Okay. And you also stated that your current residence is in Harris County?
Yes.
Okay. What elementary school does your daughter currently attend?
He doesn't know what middle school she go to.
I'm asking you for the court, Ms. Hancock.
Girl.
You stated on direct testimony that Mr. Thomas has all the
Mr. Thomas needs to mute his mic. That's irritating.
information for Layla, so he shouldn't need your address. But does he know where your child's middle school is? What middle school does she attend?
So he needs all this through me. He gets her and can't ask her anything.
Objection, Your Honor, non-responsive.
Sustained. Ms. Hancock, you've been asked a question and you're being ordered to answer the question.
She goes to Christian McCullum.
And that middle school is located in Fort Bend County. Is that correct?
I do not live in Fort Bend. Her school is in Fort Bend, yes.
Okay, so it's your testimony that you have your daughter enrolled in a school that you don't live in a district that you don't live in?
It's not my testimony. That's that's where we're zoned, but I'm Houston.
Okay, so your current address has her zoned to McAuliffe Middle School.
Yes.
Okay, and that middle school is located in Fort Bend.
I'm not in Texas. Okay. It's Cali over here. So y'all let me know, in the state of Texas, in these particular counties, how far are they from each other? Because from what it sounds like, this attorney is like, ain't no way. Y'all let me know in the comments.
It's Fort Bend, Houston, from my understanding.
Okay. And how long has she attended that middle school?
She just started this year.
And prior to that, what was her elementary school?
She went to Alameda, and then she spent a few months at Blue Ridge.
Okay, and Blue Ridge Elementary School is also located in Fort Bend. Is that correct?
She's zoned to that school, but I am a Houston resident.
I'll pass the witness, Judge.
Thank you. Ms. Campos, any other questions?
I'll just ask one follow-up. Since we're discussing the residents, Ms. Hancock, what county do you live in?
I stay in Harris County.
So it's Harris County, not Fort Bend.
Yeah, it's like I'm on the border where I live. So they go to a Fort Bend school district, but I'm in Harris County. I don't know if that makes sense. I don't know how it makes sense either. But that's what's going on. Like everything I have, you know, for my son, he's autistic. His is Houston. Everything he signed up for is Houston. I don't know how they made this a little corner school their school, but they just in a Fort. They're not deep in Fort Bend like Missouri City or nothing like that. We're still Houston, Texas.
I'll pass the witness.
No further questions for this witness, Judge.
Thank you. Ms. Campos, you may call your next.
I'll call Mr. Thomas as my next witness. And did you hear the agreements that I read onto the record?
Yes, ma'am.
And does that accurately reflect what you're agreeing to?
As far as what?
As what agreements I read onto the record, such as that we're agreeing to continue your suspension of
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And are you requesting that the payments on the child support arrears be set at $155 a month?
Yes, ma'am.
Why are you requesting that they be that amount?
Because I have 4 other children. Also, I just found out that I was diabetic, which I stated to y'all when we came to court last time. I'm diabetic. I have high blood pressure. So as far as with me having to pay for insulin, I mean, for me to have to pay more money, child support, I mean, that's high. So I can't afford to pay that.
So you just fired your appointed attorney and Miss Nance substituted in. How did you get the money to pay Miss Nance?
My mother and my father.
Okay, so that money did not come from you?
No, ma'am, it didn't.
Regarding the non-disclosure of Miss Hancock's address, do you have any response to what she said about the stalking?
I think the lawyer just answered it, but I guess
it's all lies because I mean, she doesn't have any videos of me stalking her. If that's the case, why haven't she already reported this to the courts. Why is this coming out now? And we've been going through this since 2013.
Are you currently working, Mr. Thomas?
Yes, ma'am, I am.
How much do you make at that job?
I make $15 an hour,
How many hours per week do you work?
40 hours.
So the prior order was set based on minimum wage, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And that has not been modified since 2013-ish?
$15 an hour is not minimum wage for y'all? I gotta move.
What you mean modified? Have they changed it?
Have they changed child support at all since
No, I mean, yes, they have, because at my previous job, they were only taking maybe $175, $200 a month, but now they're taking out $240 every 2 weeks, so which is $580 a month.
So I understand that there are some judgments, but as far as current support, is that set at $212 per month? Is that correct?
No, it's $230. I mean, that's what they garnish out of my check, and I've sent the other lawyer a screenshot of that. I have that where they garnish out of it every 2 weeks.
Okay, but so I'm just wanting to ask, current support is still based off of minimum wage as it was ordered in the prior order. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
How much does your insulin cost per month?
I take Novolin in, Novolin R. They're each they're like $55 a piece before tax.
Where are you currently living?
Houston, Texas, 77083.
Do you live there with anybody?
Mom and dad.
Do you contribute to the bills of the house?
Yes, ma'am.
How much do you contribute?
Pay half on the light bill, which is $75. I pay half on the water bill, which is $25, my portion. And also insurance. They have to pay house insurance. I contribute to that, which is $125.
Are those the only payments you make towards the household expenses?
Yes, ma'am. Plus, I have 4 other children that I'm supporting.
Do you pay your parents on time for those household expenses?
Yes, ma'am. I pay them every 2 weeks. I just give them a few dollars on 2 bills on my first pay period, and on my second pay period, I pay the rest of it.
Why was there
because sometimes I don't even have money.
So there was a big gap in so it looks like in 2021 you made some payments, but there was a big gap in between 2021 until you started making payments again in 2022. What's the reason for the gap for the child support payments?
I lost my job due to COVID. The company that I was working for, they had shut down when COVID started. So once COVID
that's tough.
Once COVID let up, I went and found more employment, and I started working, and they started going in more ways. So I wasn't making enough money over at the other job to support myself. So I got another job making a little more extra money, because they had started taking more payments out for the child support.
And those children that you mentioned, you said you have 4 other children, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Are they your biological
3 of them,
children?
I'm sorry, 3.
Okay, 3 other children.
Yes,
Are they your biological children?
No, one is for my girlfriend I'm with now, and 2 of them are with her.
Okay.
So 2 biological.
So you have 2 other children that you're supporting that are biologically yours. How old are those children?
Yes, ma'am. One just turned 3, and the other will be turning 10 in June.
Okay. And then you say they don't live with you, though? They live with your girlfriend?
Yes, ma'am.
I'll pass the witness.
Ms. Nance?
Yes, Judge, briefly. Mr. Thomas, you stated that you were in agreement with the agreement that Ms. Campos read into the record. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And that stated the total amount that you had in arrears, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And when did the bulk of that accrue? When did the bulk of that run up, that expense?
The bulk of it ran up in between 2014 to 2019 because I got incarcerated in 2014, and I was released 2019.
Okay. And did you attempt to have your the child support stopped during that time that you were incarcerated?
Yes, ma'am, I did. I filed a motion when I was incarcerated to get the payments to stop until I got released, and I never got a response. And
Okay.
I did that in 2015.
But in 2019, when you were released, the first thing you did was get a job, correct?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
And you started making payments towards your arrears as well as the current child support. Is that correct?
So it sounded like he was just doing right by paying, situations just happen, but who cares? He didn't try hard enough. He should have been sending money from jail. He should have been clapping them cheeks and sending money from jail. Huh, Miss Hancock? Girl, bye.
Yes, ma'am. That's correct.
And aside from a brief time during COVID, you've been keeping up with those monthly payments. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And in the time since the original order was signed, like you stated, you've had 2 additional biological children. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am. That's correct.
And the court order does not take those children into account in terms of calculating your support.
Yes, ma'am. That's correct.
Okay. And so the reason that you're asked is the reason that you're asking the court to maintain the $155 payment towards your arrears is because that is all that you can afford to do right now.
Yes, ma'am. That's correct.
Okay. And you heard Ms. Hancock testify on direct that there's been some instances of stalking and harassment and all of that. Is any of that true?
No, ma'am, it's not.
Okay. And in fact, the only time that you have sought out Ms. Hancock is when you have been denied access to your daughter. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am. Correct.
Okay. And in fact, you were denied so many times that you filed an enforcement for possession or access with this court, and Ms. Hancock was held in contempt, correct?
Yes, ma'am, that's correct.
And Ms. Hancock also testified that since that order was entered, she's been very consistent with your visitation with your daughter. Is that correct?
No, ma'am, that's not correct.
Okay. In fact, she also stated that you all have come up with some sort of agreement to meet at a different location. Did you come up with that agreement?
No, ma'am, she came up with that agreement. And the only reason I okayed to it is because that was the only way I was able to see my child.
Okay. And
Because she moved from her current residence.
So now he admitted to okaying to it. So let's see if that changes anything for the court.
From when we went to court last time, she moved again and I couldn't find her.
So Ms. Hancock has not kept you updated on changes of schools or changes of address or any of the things that she was ordered to do in the order that's still standing in this court?
No, ma'am, she hasn't, because I tried to call the school maybe 2 months ago to find out some information, and they wouldn't give me any information on the child because they said I wasn't on any of her paperwork.
And Ms. Hancock also testified to an increased expense due to your...
Listen, they got to change these laws, okay? Because there are women who use their kids as pawns in order to get what they want, right? And society conforms to the women. All, like, the majority of the time, they're team woman, they're pro woman, okay? My husband went to go pick up our son from school, and they called me to make sure it was okay. And my son has the same name as his father, and my name, we all have the same last name. And she was like, well, I mean, he's even on the birth certificate, honey. And she was just like, well, I'm just making sure, like, woman to woman. And I was like, ma'am, if you don't knock it off, he's on the emergency card. Like, what are you calling me for? My husband was so mad. Just why I can't let my husband go to school, because anyway, it was unnecessary. Another lady apologized to me, but it's like, don't apologize to me, honey. Apologize to my husband, okay? Like, what are you doing? What is wrong with you people? Society really needs to fix their shit. Seriously. Because that was unnecessary. But let's go.
daughter's extracurriculars. Has Ms. Hancock ever sent you any sort of information regarding any of those extracurriculars?
She did about the cheerleading stuff, but my daughter only did the cheerleading maybe for a month or so. Because when she came back to my residence, I asked her about it because me and my other kids were trying to go to her competition or whatever, and she was like, "Oh well, I'm not in that no more."
Okay.
So I haven't heard anything else about it.
And Ms. Hancock also testified that you have never provided anything outside of the child support for your daughter. Is that correct?
No, ma'am, it's not correct.
What other things have you provided for your daughter financially?
Buy clothes, buy shoes. I mean, that's really about it. Clothes and shoes. Whenever she comes to the house, it's always food. That's nonsense that she would even say that. Like, all we would have to do is ask my daughter.
Or is that why you're asking the court that Ms. Hancock be ordered to reveal her current place of residence in the orders that the court signs?
Yes, ma'am, because she goes missing and I can't talk to my child. Like, if I call my child's phone right now, she makes her block the phone so I can't even call my child when she's at home.
Mm,
Like, I don't know anything is going on with her until she lets her come to my house for the weekend, whenever that is.
that's
Okay.
terrible.
And does Ms. Hancock sometimes block you from communicating with her as well?
Yes, ma'am. If I text or call her phone right now, it's going to go straight to the voicemail.
Okay. And so that's why you're asking the court to reveal Ms. Hancock's address, or order that she reveal her address, and that pickup and drop off per this court's order be conducted at Ms. Hancock's residence.
Yes, ma'am. That's correct.
And you're also asking the court to maintain the suspension of commitment and the arrears orders that were previously in place. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am. That's correct.
And that's because you've been consistently making payments since COVID, since you've been reemployed, and since you were released from incarceration. Is that correct?
Now, correct me if I'm wrong. Okay. Chromo. Didn't she just say she only get $157 a month and that's not enough? And you hear that this man is getting two something every 2 weeks taken out of his check for back pay. So she's getting the back pay and she's getting that one monthly payment. Can we calculate that for a second? Let me calculate that for a second. And I'm going to just do a rough estimate because I don't really remember the numbers. Let's see. Say 220 because I don't really I'm gonna give it a little leeway. 220 plus 220 is already 440, and then she said 157, right? So that's almost $600 a month that she receiving for this man, and she gonna come on here talking about $157 only is not enough to support your child. Okay.
Yes, ma'am. That's correct.
I'll pass the witness, Judge.
Ms. Campos?
Mr. Thomas, you said that you have provided clothes and shoes for the child. Have you provided that during your periods of possession?
Yes, ma'am.
And you said that you feed the child. Is that during your periods of possession as well?
Okay, so feeding the child while the child is in his possession, I get the attorney asking that, but I'm confused on why she asking about the clothes in the position, right? Because that makes sense. The clothes are going to go back with her home unless she leaving them at her house. Are they not?
Yes, ma'am. And in the times that she has come to my house on the weekends, I send her home with at least $50 to $100 every weekend she comes to my house.
Okay. So you provide the child with money that she then goes home with. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
And the clothes and shoes that you've provided, do those go home with her as well?
Well, sometimes I send her home with some, and then sometimes I make her keep them at the house because whenever her mom drops her off, she sends her with nothing. So that's fine. I'm cool. I'm cool with that. But don't say I don't do nothing for her. I send her home with stuff, and like I say, I don't send her home with everything because when she comes back, I need to make sure she has something when she comes back because I can't afford to buy her clothes and shoes every 2 weeks. She comes to my house. And like sometimes she comes over and we have
And look at her face. She look like, leave that stuff. Let your daddy buy you some new stuff. She is, ooh.
somewhere to go and I'm scrambling trying to find her clothes and shoes. I have to go and buy it.
And that's on
How
purpose.
much of the clothes and shoes that you provided have gone home with her when she's gone home with Miss Hancock?
80% of it.
Okay, so you're saying that only 20% of the clothes and shoes have stayed with you?
Yes, ma'am.
I'll pass the witness.
That wasn't no real questions. I think that helped his case more than it helped her. 80% ain't bad. She can handle that little 20% that she not receiving. Girl, what?
Further. Just briefly, are you also asking that the court transfer this case to its proper venue in Fort Bend County?
Yes, ma'am, I do because I mean I don't have the funds to travel every month to go out of town. Like I'm missing out on work. I'm at work right now trying to do the Zoom meeting. Like I don't have the funds to go out of town and go to court.
And is that because, to the best of your knowledge, Ms. Hancock resides in Fort Bend County and has for at least the last year?
Yes, ma'am, that's correct.
Nothing further, Judge.
Ms. Campos, did you have any follow-up questions with regards to the motion to transfer?
No, I don't, Your Honor. No further question. The state rests just subject to a brief closing.
Okay. Now, when I heard the agreements, the summary was about there was an agreement on the amount of arrears that are owed as of the end of December. Parties seem to agree on the payment plan for the medical support amount that is owed. I just need clarification, Ms. Campos and Ms. Nance. If the agreement is for Mr. Thomas to continue on his community supervision term, then was the request for revocation non-suited, or were there some agreements as to periods in which Mr. Thomas violated the community supervision, and then there's an agreement that even though he violated the terms, that he will not be sentenced, but his community supervision will continue? I know that sometimes that I just need to be clear what it was that the agreement was as to the revocation.
Yes, Judge. What the latter of what you just said. Mr. Thomas missed some payments when he did lose his job due to COVID. And so those were the months that he did not provide support. But it's my understanding that Ms. Campos, the Office of the Attorney General, is in agreement to continue suspension of commitment.
So there was an agreement as to some findings of violation of certain terms of the community supervision and an agreement to allow Mr. Thomas to continue on the original term, which was started 12/30 of 2019.
Yes, Judge.
Judge Moore, and let me just clarify. So we had made an agreement as to all of that, and as well as coercive contempt being set at $636. I had gotten mixed up a little bit in thinking, since we were revoking only to place him back on community supervision, I got a little bit confused with the just that process of how it would be worded. But we did have agreements to go ahead and revoke the community supervision, find him in contempt, set coercive contempt at $636, and then place him back on the community supervision.
Okay, so the original order enforcing did not have a coercive contempt amount, so that is going to be added to this order?
Correct, Your
Yes,
Honor.
Judge.
And what is the coercive contempt amount?
$636. It's just 3 months of child support.
Okay. I didn't hear any terms of agreement with regards to the court costs. Is that something you would like for me to make a decision on?
Oh, yes, Your Honor. I'm so sorry. We did not talk about court costs. I think the state would request court costs be, well, I'll leave it up to the court.
If you disagree with the ruling and you don't wish to attach your signature, Ms. Campos can still submit the order to me for my signature. You will receive a copy. So if you decide to request a new hearing, then you can do that. So, and that applies to Mr. Thomas as well. You know, he can, if he wants a new hearing, he certainly can do that. Okay. All right. So, as to the determination disclosure address, when the order that would decide to request a new hearing, then you could do that. So, and that applies to Mr. Thomas as well. You know, he can, if he wants a new hearing, he certainly can do that. Okay. All right. So, as to the determination disclosure address, when the order was done in 2019, that was basically an agreement that was made between all parties. At the time, Mr. Thomas was self-represented, and he made an agreement to a non-disclosure of information. That was not heard by the court. Now, today, what I'm hearing is insufficient reasons for the non-disclosure. So I'm granting the request to remove the non-disclosure for Ms. Hancock. Now, as to arrears, the agreements to confirm the judgments as of December 31st of 2023, that's granted. I'm ordering that the child support payment be increased from the current amount, I believe is $155. And it's ordered now at $200. And it will begin on February 1 of 2023. The medical support judgment is granted, and the payment plan of $75 is also granted. So that'll also begin in February. Okay. The findings are that Mr. Thomas did violate certain terms of the community supervision, so it is revoked. However, he will continue in his community supervision under the current term, which is began on December 30th of 2019. So it's a 10-year term. So it'll end in 2029. I'm also approving the agreement to add a course of contempt amount of $636. All right. Now, as to court costs, those are waived against Mr. Thomas. Now, as to the transfer, we didn't really hear or were provided conclusive evidence that Ms. Hancock's address is in Fort Bend. She basically was testifying that she lives in Harris County. And I don't know if that's when they do the school districts and they have some children go across county. Perhaps a little bit more evidence could have been presented to actually prove that Ms. Hancock lives in Harris County, so that transfer request is denied.
And that's hard to prove because he don't know where she live at. But with her revoking the non-disclosure, that might change.
So the case will remain in Travis. But Ms. Hancock, I will tell you that had this motion for transfer been pled where you reside in Harris, it would have been a mandatory transfer. I didn't hear anything that you live in Fort Bend County. You certainly need to talk to the Attorney General's office about that. Both you and Mr. Thomas live in Harris. But had the pleading presented was requesting a transfer specifically to Harris, I would have granted it. Okay. So just keep that in mind. So anyway, anyone can request a hearing if you disagree. So that's it for that. So Ms. Campos, did you have anything else?
I did not, Judge. I think you covered everything.
Okay, I'm going to have to close this out very quickly. So unless you have some specific things you want to tell these folks before I close out this meeting. I'm wanted in. I think I've got another hearing right after this.
Okay, I'll just let parties know.
All right, that's it, and that's all. Okay, so it increased a little bit, a little taste. Not bad, not bad. It wasn't that bad. So this what I say about these women. They play these games and they do all this. Y'all better guard your loins, okay? Y'all better strap it up before you smack it up, okay? Because the hyena clapback is real. Um, and the daughter is 12 years old, so after a while these children get older and they see right through what the parent who's combative or high conflict is doing. It's only a matter of time where they be like, dang, my mama was on this or my daddy was on that. Whoever the one is at fault, they are going to see it and call it out for what it is. Or the mother might be successful with turning the child completely dark to where they go to hell. Either or. But either way, it does not benefit the child. Grow up. Grow up. She's 12 years old. Yes, he can contact her, but you got her to block the number unless you're home. That's crazy. He should be able to talk to that child anytime they want to. Social media, via phone, like that's insane that she does that because it's not even necessary. She didn't have any proof in order to keep her place of residence hidden, and they had a whole agreement behind it. Child. Anyway, y'all let me know what y'all think in the comments for this situation. I'm gonna holler at y'all later. Squad.
We in a no hyena zone. Anti-hyena.